A week ago, we looked at the RTX 3080 by Yeston, and the overall conclusion that I had at the end of the video was that I really like what Yeston has done with the look of this GPU, the design of the shroud, the fans, the whole white and Waifu team. Just looks very different and very unique, so I really liked it. But the biggest downside here was the performance based on the temperatures of the GPU, the memory, the hotspot, and of course the generated noise. So now we're gonna try to improve that. Hey guys, welcome back to the HowISS channel. My name is Ivan, and today we're gonna look at how can we improve the temperatures of the Yeston RTX 3080. A lot of people have been requesting me to open this card, look at the components, and see if we can do some modifications there, applying some new thermal paste, some new thermal pads, and see if we're gonna improve the temperatures there. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and roll the video with the disassembly. We're gonna look at the PCB, we're going to look at the components, and we're gonna apply some new thermal pads and paste to improve all the temps. And of course, at the end, we're gonna talk about it in a conclusion. So in preparation for this update, I have a couple of things ready. I got some thermal pads, thicker, 2mm and 2.5mm, because I was not sure what exactly is the thickness of the stock ones. My expectations are 2mm, but just in case I wanted to be prepared, so I'm going to find out right away. I'm going to use some MX6 brand new that I just bought. So first things, you can start in the back. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 smaller ones and 4 big ones for the GPU. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the small ones immediately. So after removing all the screws and applying some excessive force, I was able to remove the heatsink. But before we move to the heatsink in the PCB, a quick look on the assembly for the fans. As mentioned before, pretty well designed. I actually really like what they have done with this, the look of this cooling solution. We have the little PCB here for the RGB. Only one cable connecting to the PCB, which is great. And we have the ARGB right here to the side, some markings on the fans, GP right here. I see August of 2022 production. We're gonna look at the heatsink, which I'm very interested in. There's another sticker here with the production. We have August of this year, with 25th of August, almost in September, so very new. What I can say right away here is this is definitely not significant for RTX 3080. You'll see how thin this cooling solution is. This is centimeter and a half in the thicker part right here. Luckily we have 5 heat pipes going this way, and we have 2 more heat pipes going forward, so a total of 7. Okay, that's great, but they're not direct contact. And you'll see the plate, the copper plate right here, that's nickel plated. It's fairly thin. There is no vapor chambers. The memory contacts directly with the plate and the GPU as well. We have some extensions here for the VRMs, which is good to see. And if I can bring your attention to the PCB, you will see all white PCB. Nothing really amazing that I can see. Fairly standard chokes, fairly standard VRMs. We have the 2 plugs for the power, only one connection for the fans and the RGB. The memory is Micron. And after I clean the GPU, I can tell you if this is a brand new GPU or it's been reclaimed, since I've seen plenty of videos lately for companies, less known companies. I'm not saying Yeston is doing this, but other less known companies that are buying on bulk the GPUs and the memory from a lot of mining operations and put them on a new PCB and claim the card is new. That's why they are keeping the price low. I'm not cool with that, so hopefully this is not the case over here. 2mm thermal pads, I just measured it. So those are going to be good. Remove the backplate as well from the PCB. That way I can apply some thermal pads on the backside, because there are no thermal pads here. You'll see the big gap between the backplate and the PCB. There is nothing there. Maybe that will help a little bit more with the heat dissipation, because this heatsink is not really anything special. So let me go ahead and remove the backplate real quick, and we'll be right back. So now, after I liberated the PCB from the backplate, after removing 6 smaller screws, you can see the backside of the PCB here. Looking at some of the soldering work, it could be better. You know, all these twisted to the side like that, I'm not really huge fan of. It's not the cleanest soldering work I see on the PCB, but it's definitely not the worst I've seen as well. More components here. Hopefully the camera can focus on the back side. You can definitely see that they put some work. You know, white PCBs, like I mentioned before, cost money, and they didn't have to do this, but yet they did it. so that's appreciated. And if you go on this side, again, this is the whole thing. The PCB kind of reminds me a lot actually of the RTX 3080 from the HP Omen 30L, custom made, maybe by Foxconn, maybe by other companies. Not sure if Yeston have their own factory, but if they do, awesome. But again, nothing crazy about this card when it comes to the design of PCB. What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to take these stock thermal pads, I'm going to reposition them on the back side so they can contact with the back plate. And let me go ahead and clean this gunk off the GPU and see what the situation is there. So now after I remove the stock thermal pads, I placed them in the back. You will see there are no gaps between the back plate and the back of the PCB. In fact, these thermal pads are contacting well over here, so hopefully that's going to help shave off a couple degrees from the temperature that we're getting with this smaller heatsink. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean it. We're going to clean everything here. I'm going to show you how the GPU looks. So the GPU doesn't look like it's darkened. Still looks pretty crispy. It's not too cloudy. It's not grayish. Hopefully the camera picks it up. So maybe this is a brand new GPU, at least hasn't been used for a while. If it's reclaimed, I don't see any major issues with it. I wish I had an electronic microscope so I can go deeper and look at some of the soldering job on the side over here where the GPU is connected to the PCB, and maybe some of the job they've done with the memory. But the memory looks pretty straight. It doesn't look like it's been reclaimed, but who knows, maybe they've done just a great job. We'll see after the application of the new thermal paste and all the other mods with the new thermal pads if we're going to improve the temperature. Hopefully that's going to be the case. So if we get real close to the crystal, I don't know if you guys can tell on the camera, or maybe I'm paranoid, but it seems like there's scratches going this way, very fine ones, kind of a little shimmer when you move around. It doesn't appear to be a completely clean crystal, what I would expect a brand new GPU. So maybe that's a reclaimed one. Seems to have a little bit of a grayish kind of look. Take it with a grain of salt. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I can't say with a certainty without having a brand new card to compare it with and high-powered microscopes to actually look deeper. Now if we look at the heatsink after I clean it, maybe you will notice it's not completely shiny and perfect surface. Yeah, it's somewhat mirror, but not the best. You can definitely feel some of the grooves. It's not polished to a complete shininess, but I think it's significant enough. I think the main issue here is just how small overall or thinner this heatsink is compared to some of the other offerings out there. But maybe after we apply some new thermal paste, we'll improve that. So at the end, what I end up using is the MX6 for the GPU and the 2mm thermal pads by Thermalright. I'm gonna put it all together again. Just make sure you route this cable the way it was underneath this heat pipe and over. Plugging it in is a little bit pain, but if you have like tweezers or something like that, that might help you. Now we have the stock thermal pads on the back plate and the new ones in the front. I'm gonna put it together, throw it in the same case with the same components and see how it's gonna perform compared to itself a week ago when we tested with the everything stock. All right, conclusion time. And as you guys see, applying some high quality thermal paste like MX6 or maybe MX4 or whatever, something you have that is high quality, will bring the temperature down at least 4 to 5 degrees Celsius, which is excellent news, because not only that brings down the temperatures, but also brings down the noise, because you're gonna see the difference between stock RPMs of the fans and the RPMs of the fans after the modification is about 300-400 RPMs, which that reflects on less noise, which I absolutely appreciate, and I'm sure a lot of you gonna appreciate as well. 4 to 5 degrees lower on GPU, we have 4 to 5 to 6 degrees lower on the memory, and the hotspot is about 7 degrees lower, which again, with what we have to work here, this slim radiator, which is really not that amazing to be honest, is twice the size of the one we have on the Maxon and some other GPUs like the EVGA ones, for the Win, if you are familiar with those. So yeah, with what we have here, I think these results are very, very good. We managed to lower down the temperature on the 80 degrees of the GPU. We kept the hotspot around 90 degrees and the memories under 90 degrees as well. So actually the results are very similar or pretty much the same as the one I was able to achieve with my RTX 3080 by HP. I'm going to put side by side over here the temperature comparison after the same conditions. We're talking about 22 degrees Celsius room temperature and gaming for over 30-45 minutes on the high demanding games like Plague Tale, Requiem, or Deathloop, or some of the more high demanding games. They are utilizing the GPU over 100%. That way we can have kind of a realistic situation of how we're playing. And I'm using the exact same master box Cooler Master case with my transplant HP Omen 30L with all the other components, so to make things really equal to the one I have with the HP RTX 3080. So yeah, I think the results are great. After that modification, I think the card is even performing better. And if you have a bigger case with much better ventilation, you can expect 2 to 3 degrees even lower. Again, reflecting on lower noise because the fans are not gonna spin as much. And I have to say, after that modification, I can definitely hear them less than I was hearing them before. I'm impressed with what Yeston has done with the shrouds. I absolutely love everything they have here with the RGB, with the way that everything is designed with a backplate. But Yeston, please, next time, make those fans 90mm instead of 80. I think the noise will be a lot better, and I think the temperatures will be better. And of course, if you make the radiator thicker, that's gonna help us as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe if you're new. Check out the link in the description below. If you want to support the channel directly, that helps me tremendously to bring you videos like that very often. And as always, guys, you have a wonderful day.